Hello, this is GAMEZOMATIK and welcome back to my channel, and this is my top 10 first person shooters on the PlayStation 2. Now just a small disclaimer, this is my own selection of my personal favourite first person shooters on the PS2. Obviously other people may have a different selection, but this one is mine. Also, I've tried to stick to games that are exclusively first person shooters only, so there's no third person shooters in here. So games such as Metal Gear Solid where you can switch from third to first person do not feature on this list. So off the bat, in at number 10 is Darkwatch. Released in 2005 and developed by High Moon Studios, Darkwatch is a first person shooter that mixes the genres of western horror and steampunk, telling the story of Jericho Cross, an outlaw gunfighter in the late 19th century who's been turned into a vampire and then forcibly recruited by a monster hunting secret organisation to fight against supernatural forces. This is a great first person shooter and probably one of the best looking games on the PlayStation 2. I only picked this up a couple of years ago and I've never played it before or even heard of it before, and I was just pleasantly surprised by the amount of variety in the gameplay. This game's got a fantastic varied roster of guns and other weapons, and a very strong and engaging story. And although not particularly commercially successful, it's one of the best conceived and executed first person shooters on the PlayStation 2, and any self-respecting shooter fan should really own this game. At number 9 is 13. Based on the Belgian graphic novel series of the same name, 13 tells the story of Jason Fly, whom is voiced by David Duchovny, who awakes on a beach in Brooklyn, badly wounded and with amnesia. All he has is a locker key and the tattoo 13 on his arm. And so your adventure begins. 13 is an amazing first person shooter. It's just beautiful to look at. I love the art style in this game with its cel shaded graphics, and it feels like you're playing sort of an interactive comic book. And although it lacked a little in the shooter mechanics department, it totally made up for it in its aesthetics and the style of the game. This had to be on my list because it's probably one of the most unusual first person shooters that I've ever played. And I've got to take my hat off to Ubisoft Paris just for trying something a little bit different. At a time when the first person shooter genre was starting to get a little bit stale with Alien and World War II shooters. This is definitely one of the most original PlayStation 2 shooters you can buy, and you can pick it up for peanuts now. You know, you find it in most charity shops or bargain bins. It's definitely worth picking up. In at number 8 is No One Lives Forever. Released in 2002, this is a port of the PC game that was released earlier in 2000. And although to be honest this isn't the greatest port of a PC game ever made, this is still a fantastic and quirky first person shooter in its own right. The game is set in a very stylistic 1960s spy setting, very much in the vein of Austin Powers or The Man from U.N.C.L.E. And you play as the protagonist Kate Archer, a spy on a mission to take out the evil HARM organisation. The whole game is very tongue-in-cheek and it's one of the funniest games I've ever played. The game is absolutely stuffed to the brim with fantastic weapons and loads of 1960s spy gadgets. And to be honest, the whole game is really just a complete joy to play with some really memorable set pieces. There was a sequel released the same year on PC and then another add-on called Contract Jack in 2003. Unfortunately, these were not ported over to the PlayStation 2. If you can't get hold of the PC version, then I definitely guarantee picking this up. You won't regret it. It's an absolutely fantastic game.
What now? About time things livened up.
At number 7 is Red Faction. How many times did I hear the words, "Die, miner"?
About to get a little longer, mine scum.
Just let me go, or else.
You threatening me? Yeah, well, threaten this.
Released way back in 2001. This for me personally has got to be one of the most pivotal first person shooters of that particular generation, especially on consoles. With Xbox releasing Halo the same year, Sony had a lot of competition with this one, but to be honest, I've got a little confession to make. I actually prefer Red Faction series to the Halo series. And even just as a tech demo, this game was amazing. The way you could blast through walls, blow up bridges, and even blow up people. I just felt a lot more invested in this story than I did in Halo's. And apart from Metal Gear Solid, which came out later that year, this is one of the few games I regarded as a PS2 system seller. Okay, the stealth sections were rubbish, but the rest of the game was amazingly good fun. Just don't mention its sequel, Red Faction 2, because that was rubbish. And number 6 on my list is Half-Life. Now before you all start going ballistic and saying this should be higher on the list, the reason it isn't is because I played the original PC version back in 1998. And this particular PlayStation 2 port wasn't released until 2001. It does, however, still have to be on the list because it is still one of the greatest first-person shooters of all time. And this, surprisingly, is an absolutely great port. There's actually some extra stuff in this as well that wasn't in the original PC version. Now, there's not really that much I can say about this game that hasn't been said a million times before. It's almost the perfect first-person shooter. And the fact that they managed to port it to PlayStation and pretty much retain absolutely everything that was in the original game is an achievement in itself. It's a game I still go back to every couple of years and have a playthrough of. I just wish, like everyone else, they'd bloody hurry up and make number 3. In at number 5 is 007 Agents Under Fire. Now, I'm a big fan of the James Bond franchise and I'm a big fan of James Bond games, but for me this is one of the best games on the PS2, not only one of the best James Bond games, but one of the best games full stop. Now I know you could say this is cheating because it has got a couple of sort of on-rails sections and a couple of driver sections within the game, although it is predominantly a first-person shooter, and I personally think it just delivers Bond on every single level. I love this game because the levels are so varied and there's so many little secret pickups you can find in secret areas within the game, and it doesn't tie you into any one Bond either. A lot of people harp on about GoldenEye being the best Bond game, but for me it's between this and Bloodstone. Both of those games had original Bond stories and top-notch shooting mechanics, and this is just a great all-round first-person shooter. And number 4, released in 2004, is Killzone. Developed by Guerrilla Games, this is the game that showed what the PlayStation 2 was capable of. Along with the 2 Metal Gear Solid games on the PlayStation 2, this has probably got to be the best looking game that was released for that platform. Visually, this game still holds up pretty well today, and it's also the game that kickstarted a spectacular franchise. It's got to be said though, this game is bloody tough in places. I remember playing this on the hardest settings and it just took me weeks and weeks to finish it. But I didn't mind because the game was so much fun, and I really hope it's not the last we've seen of the Killzone franchise. For those of you who were put off by Shadowfall, don't worry, go and play Mercenary on the Vita, because that's an absolutely fantastic game. At number 3 is Black. Now, initially I didn't play Black when it was first released. I played it a couple of years later when it was recommended to me by a friend. When I did play it, well, it blew me away. I just thought it was an amazing looking game. I did play it on the original Xbox a bit later on, and it does look slightly better on the original Xbox. But it doesn't look shabby at all on the PlayStation 2 either, and it's a fantastic shooter. This game is made by Criterion, the same people who make the Burnout series. And I wish they'd go and make some more shooters because this game absolutely looks amazing. The only thing I didn't like about this game was the save game system in it, because this game is tough and when you die you go back to the beginning of the level. I mean, this is old school. If you want to test how good you are at first person shooters, put this game on the hardest setting and do a playthrough of it, and if you can get from the beginning to the end, then you know you're pretty good at first person shooters. This is an absolutely fantastic game and a must buy for any PlayStation 2 owner. So here we are at number 2 on my list, and my number 2 game is Timesplitters 2. Now the reason Timesplitters 2 is number 2 on the list is because I have just such good memories of this game. I used to live with a guy and just used to sit there watching him trying to beat this game for hours on end, and trying to beat it myself later on when I got it. And that's what I love about this game. It's like watching a sport. It's one of the few games that I'm just as happy to watch somebody else play as I am to play it myself. Now don't get me wrong, I did love the original Timesplitters, but this one just nailed it. I love the settings in it, I love the visual style in the game, the shooting mechanics are just perfect, the game is as easy or as hard as you want it to be, and it presents a real challenge This is still another game I play regularly on and off today. You know, you can still put it on and it still fills me with joy and dread in equal measure. It's the true definition of a classic, and if any game needs resurrecting and bringing back, it's got to be the Timesplitters series. So here we are, my number one game. What is my number one PlayStation 2 first person shooter?
Listen up. The ramp drop, move out. If you get lost, look for me. Stay with me and we'll get through this. We've got to take that beat.
Clear the ramp!
That artillery strike scattered what's left of our squad all over the beach. 4 of our boys are over there. Help them move up the beach to the seawall.
Excuse the pun, but I don't think I've ever been as blown away by a first-person shooter as I was when I played Medal of Honor Frontline or Medal of Honor Allied Assault on the PC. Just from this opening scene of the game right through to the final level of this game, I was absolutely mesmerised by its amount of detail. Everything about it was just perfect. Now don't get me wrong, I loved all the Medal of Honor games on the PlayStation 2. They were all good. Vanguard was excellent. The first one, for me, it was just like, I'd look forward to it so much. I played Medal of Honor on the PS1 and Medal of Honor Underground, and I'd really looked forward to this game, and when it came out, it just totally didn't disappoint at all. Just me for personally, I've always been a fan of World War II shooters anyway, and this is the standard for me. If you're going to make a World War II shooter, this is how it should be. A lot of people prefer the Call of Duty games, especially the early ones, but for me, nah, I just think this original Medal of Honor is probably one of the best first-person shooters ever made. And this, without a doubt, is probably one of the best, if not the best, opening level of a first-person shooter that I've ever seen. I guess the whole point of a first-person shooter is to immerse you into that world, and I think this game just nailed it perfectly right from the off. And just never stopped right until the end of the game, dropping you in different locations and making sure that you felt like you were actually fighting through World War II Europe. So there we go, Medal of Honor Frontline is definitely my favourite first person shooter on the PlayStation 2. Of course there's a couple that I've missed out, so here's some honourable mentions.
intercepted the enemy communications and cracked their encryption codes. I am broadcasting the intercept on your frequency. It may warn you of the enemy presence.
Kilo to T1, what's your position? Over. Second company. Sit down. Need assistance.
Thanks for watching this video. I bring new stuff out pretty much every week, so please click like and subscribe to the channel, and I shall return with another video soon. Take care, and I shall see you later.